As much as these unscrupulous cops love to believe that they are the law, it must be frustrating for them when they come across the true representative of the law, judges. You can only imagine how they must feel when they're forced to subject themselves to these honorable justices of the law. Fortunately, we have some footage of these situations. Let's take a look at 8 times corrupt cops were destroyed by judges. Clip number 1. We begin this hilarious display of corrupt cops getting owned by judges in the best place possible, a court of law. Over in the Seminole County Circuit Court in Sanford, Florida, a judge is about to throw the book at Lisette Gonzalez, a 46-year-old woman who was found guilty of DUI of driving under the influence. However, what seemed to be an open and shut case was blown wide open when Lisette's attorney threw one final Hail Mary by claiming that there was insufficient evidence against his client, as the arresting officer Michael Wagner never gave Lisette a breathalyzer test, nor did they ever analyze the alcohol content of her blood. As he never did this, why did he state in his official report that Lisette had tested well above the legal alcohol limit of 0.08?
I want to be enlightened.
It was a mistake, admittedly, by Michael Wagner.
I know.
Testified to that today.
In response, Officer Wagner tried to assert that not testing her was an honest mistake. However, he insisted that Lisette was definitely intoxicated. As if that wasn't bad enough, Lisette's attorney then revealed that due to this mistake, Lisette had incurred another liability when she got a ticket for driving with a suspended license a few months after she was arrested for DUI. The truth of the matter is that if Officer Wagner had not thrown his illegal tickets at Lisette, she wouldn't have been in the following predicament. Unhappy with these events, the judge threw the matter out of court, but not before scolding the cop and prosecutor for the lies they presented in court. Clip number 2. Another police officer that was forced to feel the long arm of the law on his shoulders was William Melendez. Deputy Melendez was before the court of law because he was on trial for brutalizing a motorist named Floyd Dent during a traffic stop. The matter was aggravated by the fact that Dent was African American. Fortunately for Dent, the police violence mixed with racial undertones was recorded on a police dash cam. In the footage, one can see Melendez and his 2 deputies hold the poor victim down before bashing him in the head a total of 16 unbelievable times. As such, Melendez was compelled to appear before Judge Vonda Evans, who threw the book at the violent police officer.
That you believe my actions were unjust. Please have faith in your law enforcement officers.
Although Melendez tried to appear sorry and remorseful for his violently devious deeds, the judges couldn't look past the fact that the 3 officers found Dent's bloody state hilarious. As such, she had no other choice but to sentence the violent officer to 13 months to 10 years in prison. Should have been more if you ask me. Clip number 3. We take a look at Sheriff Charlie Reeder, a corrupt cop whose day of reckoning came in the Pike County Courthouse in Waverly, Ohio. Having pleaded guilty to 2 counts of theft along with tampering with evidence after stealing $5,000 or more from the evidence locker. As if that wasn't bad enough, he gambled the money away. Emotionally, he pleaded with justice for the minimum sentence possible, because if she threw the book at him, he'd spend the next 18 years in prison with the criminals he had hauled into prison himself.
Will forgive me for the undue stress I caused him. For this, I am terribly sorry.
The judge asked him why he carried out his callous thefts. Amazingly, this man lied that he used the money to support charity in his community. But the evidence against him suggested that he also had a massive gambling debt against his name. Due to this, Judge lost any sympathy she had for the sheriff's plight. As such, Reeder was sent to 6.5 years in prison. Although it appears that due to the concurrent nature of his sentence, it's more likely that he'd spend half of that time in prison. Clip number 4. Next up, we head to Denver, where a first advisement hearing took place before a judge. Although the judge was supposed to brief Anthony Waller, the defendant, on the reason he was being held in custody before letting him know how the legal proceedings will take place, Waller was in custody due to allegations of false imprisonment and assault on a woman. Bound in chains in every possible way, Waller requested for more classification from the judge, and for some reason, this is what made Deputy Brady Lovinger snap.
Get on your feet.
He placed his hands on Waller's back, with his reason being that he was trying to direct Waller towards the clerk so that he could sign the required paperwork. Not understanding why he was being forced around, Waller turned to the deputy to ask why he was being pushed. Rather than managing the situation like a pro, Lovinger grabbed Waller by his chains so that he could slam him face first into a metal window frame. What a thug! Unsurprisingly, even as the cops dragged Waller off, he let the whole court know he was hurt. After Waller emphasized that he had suffered from broken teeth and a head wound, the judge had no other choice but to file an excessive force grievance against Lovinger with the Denver Department of Public Safety. After deciding that Waller wasn't a threat to anyone in the court premises, the deputy was suspended for 30 days. Nobody will be surprised at that because of this. Waller won $50,000 against Lovinger in the city. Nonetheless, he was still convicted of his crimes against his victims. Clip number 5. Next up, we head to Orange County where Daniel Saylor, a former Windermere police chief, was pleading with the court for mercy. Turns out he was guilty of perjury in the court of law.
I still believe what I said was the truth. I'm a single father with a daughter. I've served my country in the state of Florida for many years, and I find myself in this position now.
Regardless, there was nothing he could do to prevent the 8-year sentence he received from the judge. In fact, the jury only took about an hour to find him guilty. This is because he was found guilty of lying on the stand during the trial of Scott Bush, a friend of his who was charged with assaulting 2 girls. Despicable acts by someone who's supposed to uphold the truth of the law. Clip number 6. Here we watch as another crooked cop is subjected to the punishment of the law. In this case, Deputy Zachary Wester was arrested for planting illegal substances on his poor victims. Once this was brought to the notice of the law, Wester faced trial and was found guilty on 19 out of the 67 charges that were made against him. These charges involved crimes such as misconduct, the fabrication of evidence as we saw with his nefarious evidence planting, false imprisonment, and possession of controlled substances.
You've robbed me of my credibility being a mother and a grandmother for the last 3 years. I've probably missed 1.5 years of my grandbaby's life because of this. I wish you no ill will, and you'll never know what you've done to me until you...
Incredibly, not only did the court discover that Wester's reports never matched his body cam footage, he was also known to go as far as switching his body cam off when he was committing his various crimes.
Count 9, guilty of official misconduct related to Joshua Manuel as charged. Count 10, guilty of official misconduct related to Stephen Van as charged.
Consequently, he was sentenced by Judge James Goodman Jr. to 12 years and 6 months in prison. Clip number 7. Another violent event that got another officer in trouble was when Officer Newman, a Palm Beach Gardens police officer, shot Corey Jones in 2015. As Mr. Jones succumbed to his injuries, the officer had to go through a trial in order to determine if he was guilty of manslaughter and first-degree attempted murder. This unfortunate event occurred on a seemingly normal day when Jones was heading home. However, he was unable to get there because his car broke down. This is where Raja ran into Jones. An argument ensued with the insult being Jones's untimely death.
Thank God that they was tender. Thank God that they was focused and they persevered through the process.
The family of Corey Jones hugged each other after the verdict was read in a West Palm Beach courtroom this morning.
Although he expressed his remorse in court, he was unable to avoid a 25-year prison sentence. A sad ending with a sad case. Clip number 8. Here we take a look at a court proceeding in Breckenridge County, Kentucky. Over there, Todd Pate, a former sheriff, stands before Judge Janet Crooker on charges which state that he was operating under the influence, criminal mischief, and leaving the scene of an accident. This occurred a year before the trial. In this incident, he rammed into a car. Rather than checking on those he injured, the sheriff fled the scene. However, he was soon apprehended by his colleagues, and that's when they learned that his blood alcohol level was twice the legal limit. Subsequently, the incident forced Pate to retire from the sheriff's office. While before the court, Pate was in a position to confirm his guilty plea, which would have reduced his 15-year sentence to 75 days. Instead of doing this, Pate fools around with the court, even after the patient judge went on recess so that he could organize himself. Rather than conforming to the situation, he continues with his antics. Fed up with his flip-flopping due to the fact that he doesn't agree with charges, the judge threatens to throw him into prison on that very day. However, Pate gets his head straight, so he makes his guilty plea and accepts his 75-day presence. Should have been more, to be honest. Don't hesitate to like and share our video. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, Cops vs. Karma, and hit that bell icon so you'll be notified whenever we upload a video. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, goodbye!